So now that we're going live, and we heard that. I understand that. So thank you. So we're waiting the rabbi to arrive and do the shir. We just got in from New York, so a somewhat belated mazel tov to Yehuda David on having his bar mitzvah. The tradition is, of course, that whenever every member of the Kievman family who has a bar mitzvah, they have the next Shabbos, I believe, or Shabbos sooner, or Shabbos, the next chance they get to have an aliyah by the Moshiach's by the Rebbe's minion, they have the aliyah. So we had it this morning, they flew out last night. So let's eventually welcome him back in here so we can do the shir from here. And the live audience, thank you.
How big is the audience?
It's more than just us, thank you. Have in mind that you're being heard and recorded as well. Exactly, that's my point. So, while we have there, let's go with Torah. Yes or yes? Thank you for that answer. Speaking of Yehuda, here he is on his phone. Nice. The bar mitzvah boy, yes. So, we are approaching the right. So this is it. So, and tomorrow it's a double portion. We have we're now in the middle of doubling out the side, and in tonight's / tomorrow's reading of the Torah, fourth reading, God then instructed Moses regarding the various forms of donations that individuals may make to the Beit HaMikdash or to the priests. Only one type of donation is when someone pledges the monetary value of the person or article. In such cases, the priest must first assess the pledger's ability to pay before he collects the pledge. Sense, debtors, slaves, our infinite worth. Our infinite worth is the caption here. God then instructed Moses to tell the Jewish people, a priest must evaluate the pledger in accordance with how much he can afford. The pledger's wealth is evaluated based on what he actually possesses, regardless of whether he has chosen to make use of all his wealth or only a part of it. God established and evaluates us in a simple way. All Jews will receive the entire Torah when our soul stood at Mount Sinai. So the entire Torah is our inheritance. And our position. Therefore, regardless of how much the Torah, regardless of how much of the Torah we have studied or internalized, God regards us as spiritually wealthy. God's favorable evaluation of our wealth and worth is filtered down into the consciousness of the Jewish nations of the world, non-Jewish nations of the world. This is why non-Jews, whether or not they are conscious of it, have a deep-seated high regard for the Jewish people. Thank you for making us your chosen people. Nonetheless, merely possessing inherent spiritual wealth is not enough. We are meant to increase in our power to refine both ourselves and the world by studying all aspects of it, internalizing the best of our ability and beyond. We've done nothing to live be a God.
Okay. Thank you so much for all the please. Okay, so I apologize for this craziness. I apologize for the craziness. There was the medical emergency on the flight. So when I landed, we had to wait for
He wants to give the shulin.
Okay. So here's our.
Let's go on, let's do
Okay, so. I mean, focus really. All right, so, huh?
it.
So, okay, I will keep quiet. That's the orders of Ari. I apologize when he was watching. Um, yeah, I printed a copy, so anyone wants to go, the machine's going, but can print of the exact Rambam, which we down over here. We're gonna. I don't know if she can stop him. So this book again, the Rebbe gave out. This is what the Rebbe gave out. The primary source we have for the laws of Moshiach is the Rambam. The Rambam is the first one we know to codify halacha. In general, our source for halacha is the Gemara. But the Gemara, but what he did is the Gemara is all over the place, sort of like us or me, we're ADD and we're all over. So the Gemara is also that way. Maybe that's why we're so ADD. Because we learn Gemara, and the Gemara is you jump from this topic to that topic, and we're constantly. So the Rambam, what he did is he codified. He took everything, he gathered everything all over, and he put it all in one place. He organized it. It's very organized. Rambam is very organized. The Rambam is also very precise. Every word that the Rambam teaches is exact. And that's why the Rebbe explains Rambam, the Rebbe says every single word, there's no mistakes in the Rambam. Every single word is exact. And therefore the order of way the Rambam has is also exact, because in general the Rambam was a very organized person. The Rambam was very organized. He was able to accomplish so much. Look at the Rambam's life, how much he was able to accomplish, only because he was so organized. And so, I apologize to Ari, but I'm going to say this anyway. So on the way to the airport, I took Uber, and the driver, he looked somewhere. I mean, he sounded somewhere between Indian and Jamaican. I wasn't sure, like a mix of accent. His look was also a mix. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, but he hears me listening to a shir about Moshiach in the car, and I happened to see it. He had an earpiece in his ear, and he was listening to something. And then slowly, I see him taking it out, and I see him making his head like tilting it towards. And then he tells me, he wants it to go higher. He wants to listen. He wants to hear more. And when we get there, he tells me, that's the translation of the Rambam. See, and the original Rambam. Anyway, so he tells me, he says, this is all right. I'm with you, he says, soon, Israel's time to shine is coming. The world is recognizing Israel will shine. And of course, here you have it. Masiach lefitumai, right? Sometimes you could trust a non-Jew. Masiach lefitumai. He doesn't know he's telling you something. He doesn't know he's just saying something honestly, right? And he's not trying to, he's not trying to cheat you or anything. He's just saying it as it is. And if there's an extra copy, I'll take an extra copy. It's not, don't worry about it. It's fine. Take it. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. I'll do original and you'll correct me if it's fine. It's fine. No, take it.
Yeah, it's perfect, isn't it?
Actually, I'm sorry. I just put it right. Okay, so let's get right to it. Anyone have it? Where it says text 1. Text 1, you see it on page 2, a vision for Mashiach.
Yes. Okay. Which one?
Text 1.
Okay.
So once when Dr. Rebbe was visiting the city of Vitebsk, so someone asked him, said, Rebbe, when is Mashiach coming? And Dr. Rebbe answered, he says the Mashiach that the world thinks is coming is not coming. He says the Mashiach, he says, we have to know exactly what Mashiach is. Mashiach that everyone thinks is coming is not coming. Mashiach that everyone that's coming, people don't realize. People don't realize what Mashiach is. In other words, we have to know what Mashiach is. When we know what Mashiach is, then we can know what we're waiting for. Let's go inside the text number 1. Amalach Mashiach, you have it? Amalach Mashiach Asid Lamed L'Haksim Machtav Liyashna. So this is from the second to the last chapter of the Rambam. It's from the chapter which is called Hilchas Malachim the laws of kings and their wars, all the way at the end of the Rambam. And that's when the Rambam is talking here about Mashiach. He says, Mashiach, King Mashiach in the future, the king of the Mashiach will rise, and will return the Davidic dynasty to its original sovereignty, restoring it to its original sovereignty.
What does it mean like?
What?
What does it mean like?
You're going to stand up, and the Levi should say, stand up, Israel. Be revealed. Well, you're saying an interesting point, and we'll come back to that in 6 weeks, because you have a very interesting point to make. And the Rebbe is going to go over here on every single word. Every single word is exact. So it's going to come. Why David over here? Why are you talking about David? Well, why not Moshe Rabbeinu? Why David HaMelech? But he's going to bring David. Why not bring the time of Shlomo back? Why not show? But here we're not talking about who Mashiach is. He's talking who Mashiach is. Here's the Mashiach. I said, he's going to be. Let's see. Mikdash, he's going to build a base of Mikdash. He's going to gather the Yidden from all over the world. This is the job of Mashiach. And all the laws, all the mitzvahs are going to go back to the way they were. Makriving karbanos, we'll be able to bring karbanos sacrifices. The ISIS shmitim, the Yovel, we're able to have laws of shmita and Yovel. I think next year is a shmita. Every 7 years is a shmita. I think maybe next year is a shmita year in Israel. But that's only the Rabbana. It's only rabbinical. But it's going to go back. The Yovel is the laws of Jubilee years. Like all the mitzvahs, the way they were said in the Torah, that's the way they're going to be. And then the Rambam says, whoever does not believe in this, or who is not awaiting his coming every single second. Not just in all the Nevi'im. He's being kafir, he's not believing in. He's not believing in the Torah and the Moshe Rabbeinu. Because the Torah says testimony, testifies, it says witness on this. Allah says in the Pasuk, yeah.
He says that to the person, regular person, doesn't believe.
Yeah.
Is that people?
He says exactly what he's saying here. He's not believing this exactly. Yeah, that's what he's saying. That's what Rambam is saying. The Rambam is a book of halacha.
No, I don't think it was the Rambam. I'm only the Rambam of the way.
Okay, let's get to this. We're going to come back to this. Remember, all these things, we're going to have a lot of questions now. And we're going to come back to all these questions.
We're reading all these texts.
We're going to look at all these texts, then we're going to dissect it.
That's today.
But we're not going to finish all today. We're going to do an hour today. Yeah, so he says again, one who does not believe it, or is not waiting for it, not just he doesn't believe in the Nevi'im and the prophets, but also in Torah and in Moshe Rabbeinu. Like it says in the Pasuk, Hashem will bring your captivity. He will again gather you from among the nations, even if your diaspora is at the end of the heavens. Hashem will gather you up from there and bring you to the land. Right? Which literally, what does that mean? Literally, it means if someone's in Yehuppitz, someone's in Hawaii, right? Everybody's going to come back.
What if you did?
Now we're going to come back to this step. We're going to get to soon. So I have to wait coming back. Here we're talking about simply kibbutz. It's called known as kibbutz galuyot. The ingathering of the exiles says that no Jew will be left behind. No Jew, everyone's going to come.
Believe what you say now.
Yeah.
These people who believe, they're not going to.
No, he doesn't say that. Rambam doesn't say that. He doesn't say that. No, he does not say that. It doesn't. But he doesn't say he's not going to have it. He just says he's getting that. He's getting the Aveira. That's what he says. He's getting an Aveira. That's what he's getting. He's not fulfilling, or he's not fulfilling the mitzvah. But it doesn't mean he's not going just because. No, even just like it means he didn't keep kosher. He didn't whatever. It's the same thing. He didn't do that. But not just one thing. The Rambam is saying he's not doing anything. No, he doesn't take him out. Doesn't take him out. In fact, he says everybody's going to be there. If you're going to be all the way at the edge, so wherever you are, or spiritually it means 49 exactly. You get -49 exactly, or not just that, but you're going to be. But that's what I'm saying here. That's what he's saying here. He's saying everyone's gonna have a part of it. But it also means spiritually. If someone's all the way in Timbuktu spiritually, they're not involved in Torah at all. They don't even know what Moshiach is. Moshiach comes and he's going to gather everybody together. So he's going to gather all the other together. Means Ari, it's okay. Huh?
That's the Torah, not the mitzvah. That's what I'm saying. Not the person doesn't know nothing.
So the Rambam is saying here two different things. There's one thing, what's the right thing, and what's the wrong thing. There's another thing, and I was saying a fact that everyone's going to come together. The Belzer Rebbe says something interesting on this puzzle. My mother came from a Belzer family. Belzer Rebbe said, he says, "Im hier the Hacham, far away. There's no connection to Yiddishkeit. Nevertheless, B'Ktzei Hashamayim, he still has a piece of heaven in it. There's a small piece of heaven, everyone's heart. There's a full piece of Shemayim inside of him," he says.
I had somebody whose father is Jewish and his mother wasn't Jewish. Is that considered?
So what's the question?
Considered a Jew.
No. No. It's not considered a Jew. They consider it as well as a Jew.
Not included.
Included in what?
Bringing everybody together.
Let's divide things up over here. We're not talking about who's going to be here right now when Moshiach comes. That we're not talking about. We're talking about the Jewish people coming together. Every Jewish person coming together.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about over here. If a person is Jewish, they're included in that. Person's not Jewish, not included in that. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to have a part when Moshiach comes. Every person So if a person goes in the category of being Jewish, they fall in this category right now. It doesn't make anybody better or not better. So he says, Hashem is going to bring us all back, even someone who's even someone's on the far-fetched end. And then the Rambam says, and everything that says these explicit words of the Torah include all the statements they made by the prophets. What was that?
This is the Sukim speaking about the Moshiach will be here to collect anybody.
Yeah. So that's the passage that he's bringing over here. The verse is because proof. Rambam's being a proof that Moshiach is going to gather everybody together. Exactly. Okay. So that's the opening words over here of the booklet that the Rebbe gave out. Read from the Rambam. And then the Rebbe is going to go through the entire of these 2 chapters, and we're going to dissect these 2 chapters. Okay? Part by part. Now, the Rebbe reminds us that the Rambam is not a storybook. The Rambam is not a storybook. It's a book of halacha. There's other storybooks, right? This is a book of laws, strictly laws. The Rambam was very clear cut. So he's telling us here a halacha. There's a law here the Rambam is telling us, right? What is the law that the Rambam is telling us? So let's take a further look at the words of the Rambam. Here, reference to Mashiach. Here we go. There it is. After part of Bilam Nemar. Also, the reference of Mashiach is also made in a portion of Bilam. Okay? So, the first verse we just brought before of Hashem gathering everybody, and that's in Deuteronomy. Right? The next verse the Rambam brings is in Parshas Balak, which talks about Bilam. Right? The after part is Bilam Nemar. Also in the portion of Bilam, it says there, Bisham Libe Bishnei Mashiachim. There, it brings prophecy of the 2 Mashiachs, he says. Shnei Mashiachim. You hear 2 Mashiachs. This is Mashiach Harishon, the first Mashiach, Shehu David. The first Mashiach is David. Shehishias Yisrael Miyamitzer Nikat Kosein. He, David HaMelech, King David, he saved the Yidden from all their tzaras, from all their problems. Well, Mashiach HaAchron, also the final Mashiach, who will stand up from David's children. See the words of the Rambam? Shemashiach Yisrael B'Achronav, he will save the Yidden at the end.
But he's going to be the descendant of
He's going to be a descendant of David, yes.
physically.
First
Yeah.
one.
What the first one is that?
I'm saying the beginning.
David is not a descendant of David. David is David.
Right. That's what I'm right. David is David.
And then Mashiach is going to be. No, that's going on Moshe.
So why the Gemara says maybe Moshe Rabbeinu?
No, where I say that?
Moshe Rabbeinu will be
I don't remember that. It says, I remember
Mashiach will be Mashiach.
it's on Hedron, the Gemara speaks about different candidates of Mashiach or Shiva of Yanai. I don't remember Moshe. Could be, I don't remember. But here, I don't remember it like that. Yeah. In any case, over here, it's not what the Rambam's talking about over here. The Rambam says over here, you have David, and then you have Mashiach. And then the question is, Papa, why David and the Mashiach? Why David? So, why David? Why not? There were other kings before. Okay, it's simple. What does Mashiach mean? Anointed one.
What?
Mashiach Hashem. Anointed one of Hashem. Someone's anointed. Was David the first one that was anointed? No.
What David is enough.
Okay, and therefore,
He was designated that special soul from the beginning of.
okay, fine. And
I know we're going to. Somewhere in that is why.
I'm not following.
So he's just David Amelech is also Adam Rishon. He's Adam Rishon.
Okay, for what?
The Adam Rishon make equals. The last equal is David Amelech. He's going to be the last. Because he gave him the life also. He gave him the 70 life. Adam Rishon gave it.
If we're talking about here about someone who's Moshiach, someone who's anointed,
Right.
David was not the first one that was anointed.
Right.
Shaul was before he was anointed.
And yet he messed up
This
his
is
name.
sign. One is Yehuda. Question is where.
We're talking here about Goy Rishon Goy Achron. We're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu.
He didn't talk.
We're talking about someone who didn't do Averas. Is that what we're talking about? Doesn't Rambam say anything like that?
No, we're talking about Adam Harishon gave up 7 years of his life for his special soul, who had blood on his hands, so he couldn't go to the Mikdash, and yet he took it for Adam Harishon, and he was.
And that's why when the Rambam is telling us the laws about Mashiach, he tells us about David.
No, Shlomo.
I'm not following. I'm sorry.
It's Moshiach and
Here, we just learned the Rambam. Sorry. We just learned the Rambam over here. Right. We learned the Rambam. Rambam told us.
I think I can explain. But David Amelech also they passed away on the temple. Right?
Yeah.
We count in 49 days. I think we're going to reach.
Okay.
David Amelech. David Amelech is the one who's presenting the Malchut.
Okay.
And the Malchut is going to come back to Am Israel and to Hashem on earth. In David Amelech. Because he's the one who's in charge of it. Hashem gave it to him. He owned it. Like in Abraham here is Chesed, David Amelech is Malchut. And Malchut of Hashem and Malchut of David, they come back.
So the Rambam is going to tell us that the job of Mashiach, what is Mashiach? What's his job? He's going to bring peace into the world. Right? He's going to bring peace into the world. He's going to build Beit HaMikdash. And he's going to bring back the Davidic dynasty. Yeah? Davidic. And we'll be able to do the mitzvahs, it says. He gives us examples. What's the examples Rambam gives us? What mitzvahs does he say? The rules are going to go back to the way they were. Makribin karbanos, we're able to bring karbanos. We're going to bring Shemitah and Yovel again. All the mitzvahs says in Torah. What was that? That's what the Rambam says over here. Let's learn Rambam. We're going to learn all the opinions. Let's learn the Rambam, and then we'll spread out other opinions. So the Rambam, and we're going to go further. Okay, so I have over here the copy of the actual Rambam. I don't know why he doesn't continue over here. Visham Weimer, and Eno over there, he brings the Billah, says, I see a star, will shoot forth, I didn't laugh, I see it, but not right now. Zed David, the Rambam says, this is talking about David. Ashurenu like Paroi, I perceive him, but not in the near future. Melech HaMashiach, that's what about Moshiach. And then he continues further on. Darach Kaicha Miyakoi, brings from us, Darach Miyakoi, a star will shoot forth from Jacob. Zed David, it's talking about David. Become Shevet Israel, and they will stand up a staff, Shevet, a staff, from Israel. Zeh Melech HaMashiach. Zeh Melech HaMashiach, that's Mashiach. Amachat Pasei Moab, he shall crush Moab's princesses. Zeh David. Don't worry for David. And he brings a pasuk to prove it. He struck down Moab and measured them with the cord. He shall break down all the Shei's descendants. That's what Moshiach Shem like. That's the pasuk. Moshe Ad he ruled from sea to sea.
Moshiach is a warrior.
Okay. We're going to come back to this. We'll come back to this. Again, what's the Rambam telling us? We're going to have to come back to this. Why is the Rambam telling us these psukim specifically?
Yeah.
Edom will be an inheritance. It's talking about David HaMelech. Shneim like the pasuk Edom David Avadim Gomer. But Yiddish says say about Melech HaMashiach. He goes back to the other pasuk regarding Seir. That's talking about Melech HaMashiach. Like it says the pasuk all the Shemar leadership by the Zayzam. Right, Hashem Locha, right? Talking about we say right before Yishtabach in the morning, and Vaishiyim, the liberators, will stand up, will ascend, Har Tzion, the house, and so that's all on Mashiach. So again, the Rambam is a book of halachas, of laws. So the Rebbe is asking, why is the Rambam telling us about David HaMelech here? We're talking about Mashiach here. Let's stay to the subject. Let's not go into other things. We're not talking about Adam is great, Moshe is great, Eliyahu is great, everybody's great. We're talking here, the Rambam is telling us a law about Melech HaMashiach. Why are we going off in tangents over here about David? And why specifically David? Why?
He doesn't say that, he said about food. I think that it's a meaning thing.
No. Darach Koichem Yaakov. Zeh David. Become Shevet Yisrael. Zeh Melech Mashiach. Pasi Moab. Zeh David. That's the Rambam's words. Those are the Rambam's words. Even over here, in the one verse, Moshiach Nishin Shehu David. It doesn't say Malchus David. It says Shehu David.
But Bilam said David.
He said both.
First
David, and then the one who comes from David, which is Moshiach. So the question is what? Okay. To make a long practice short, to get the chase. And there's one point over here. There's a lot of points. Why also? Why is this at the end of the laws of the Rambam? Why isn't it earlier in the Rambam? It's such a focal point. Why is it all the way at the end? Okay, and that's what it says. The end is not making it less important, but you could say halachically. Halachically, you can't. Right? But you could say halachically, maybe it should be earlier because it's the laws of Malach, laws of kings. We had the laws of Beis Hamikdash before. What comes first, Beis Hamikdash or Mashiach? If Mashiach comes, Mashiach is building the Beis Hamikdash, then before we have the laws of the Beis Hamikdash, we should have the laws of Mashiach. Halachically. But the Rebbe is actually by design this way. Because he says the whole time, everything we do is with the mission. The mission is to Mashiach. That's where we're heading. That's what we put into the GPS. The end. So if you have to have the end result. You have to have that in the beginning, but that's the end result. We have to know where we're heading towards. The famous story of the Chassid Mendel Futterfass, who was in a Russian gulag, and he for teaching Yiddishkeit, he was there for 14 years. And no, that was So but that was there's announced. Nothing was I never check. But so he used to befriend the people there, all the people in the prison. A lot of people there, not just Jewish people, a lot of people in prison. And people in prison for crazy things, for regular. You had their they if they were entertainer, they were anything. They were threats. Anyone was a threat to the Russian government, they would throw them to prison. So if you were religious, you were a threat religion-wise. If you were an entertainer, you were looked up to in any way. So there was a circus there. People were circus there. And Mendel befriended this guy who was a tightrope walker. And he used to always tell him, there's wires, you gotta hold on to something, you're holding on to something. I cannot believe you can do it. I don't believe you, you're holding on. After Stalin, I think it was after Stalin, right? So they lowered very, very strict on all the prisoners before. They lowered their the strictness.
So after Stalin died, you were they left.
They let everybody go shortly after they let everybody go. They came back. But before they left, so they allowed these circus people. They put up a circus show for everybody. And this tightrope walker also set up his tightrope, and he was proud to show off his talent. And man told him, "You crazy? Why would you go so high up? Why?" He said, "The guy, why would you put your life in danger?" And the guy said, "It's not dangerous. You start off when you're tightrope. You start off on a low tightrope. If you do it, then the height doesn't matter. Once you know how to do it, it's not." Anyway, so the day comes, and he puts up his tightrope, and I have to remember he didn't do it for a couple of years. He was in prison, so he was a little rusty. He gets up there. First, he was scared of it, and he started going. Went all the way, he crossed the whole thing, and then he turns around and he starts going back. And this time, he was already, people were cheering. Everyone was full of prisoners cheering him on, and they started throwing him stuff. He's catching and he's throwing back, and he makes it back to the other side. He comes down, and the first person he runs up to is Mendel. He runs up to him. He says, "So now you saw me. Now you believe me?" Yeah, not gonna believe you. No. Does not tell me. Where is the trick? In the hands or in the feet? He says, have you able to do it in the hands or in the feet? So it's like, you're going like this, right? But he saw that people on the second when he was going the other way, people were throwing him things. On the other hand, the feet, them, not your feet, and it's not your hands. It's in your eyes. He says, you're absolutely right. Because the trick of a tightrope walker is you have to have the vision. You have to know exactly where you're going. And once you know where you're going, he says the rest you can do whatever you want. You learn the trick is you're going. You have to have your eye in your GPS has to know which direction you're heading. And so the Rebbe is telling us over here, we have to know what the goal is. And the mission is, of course, that's Mashiach. That's where we're heading. We're heading to Mashiach. We're heading towards Mashiach. But now we have to know what Mashiach is. What is Mashiach? What is Mashiach? Before we get there, what is Mashiach? What's his job? What's he doing in the world? Says the Rambam. What's his job? What's he going to do? Lahachzir Malchut David Liyashna. He's going to bring back the time of David. So we're going backwards in time. Is that what we're doing?
Kingdomship.
So what was special about the times of David? David ended the fights. He ended the fighting. He also paved the way for the Beis Hamikdash. So these are all things, but those are not the point. That's not the point. The point is, he's going to bring back all the mitzvahs the way they were before. So right now, how many mitzvahs are there in the Torah? 613. How many of those mitzvahs could we do right now? How many? 87?
Well,
It's a low number. I don't remember the exact number, but it's a low number. It could be S number. I don't know. Could be. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's a low number. Whatever it is, it's a fraction of the mitzvah. Why can't we do the rest of the mitzvahs? Because they're either Talei Beretz Yisrael, they're either dependent on having the land of Israel, or having Beis Hamikdash of Mashiach. So what is the job of Mashiach? He's going to bring back the mitzvahs. That's his job. In other words, right now we can't do mitzvahs. We want to do mitzvahs. Why we want to do mitzvahs? Because a mitzvah is a connection to Hashem. Mitzvah comes from the word tzavsa, the Hebrew. It's a connection. It means we're connecting to Hashem. We want to connect to Hashem, and we can't right now to the best of our ability. And Mashiach, so what's he going to do? What's he going to accomplish? And now we can connect to Hashem. We can able to do mitzvahs. All the mitzvahs we couldn't do before, we can do now. And he says, Makriv Kabbanis, bring Kabbanis, for example. Why can't we bring Kabbanis today? Let's say we know where the Beis Hamikdash is, and we do. We know the spot of the Beis Hamikdash. We know where the Beis Hamikdash wasn't in the Beis Hamikdash anyway. The Beis Hamikdash was outside, right? It was in the Chatzar. The Beis Hamikdash was outside.
Outside the
Why, if we built let's say today, we go and we built the Mizbeach there. You know exact spot the Mizbeach is supposed to be, let's say, and we did that. Could we bring Kabbanis? Huh? Let's say we find the Paraduma. Let's say that one in New Jersey turned out really good. Why not? Why not? Tell you why. Someone says why. Because Mashiach, one of the jobs of Mashiach is 87? Right. One of the jobs of Mashiach is he's going to be, once the pasuk he brings around over here, one of the pasuk he brings over here is he's going to be able to, it's called Meron Vadayin. He's going to be able to smell. Meron Vadayin, huh? Let's say he brings a pasuk, Rambam brings a pasuk. Exactly. But he's Meron Vadayin, he's going to be able to smell us and judge us, who we are. What happens is right now, we're not sure. So we don't know exactly what our yichus is, what our lineage is. We don't know. Maybe people, some of us are not even Jews exactly. Yes. Yes.
I'm not sure they're good. A lot of people find out that they are they're not Jewish or they're everyone. So it says
So when Mendel was having in the event, so we chose a Kanya who the Rebbe called him and as the ring of his grandfather, and said, the Vistach HaKayim. So Meron Vadayin, the Rebbe said he's a Kayim. He's a Kayim. So happened to be that his grandson was in town, fast anyway. So we had someone who knows the legit Kayim. Oh shit, comes. Yeah, I saw. Terrible. Anyway, so the reason is again because Mashiach is going to be the one who's going to tell us who's for sure a Kayin, and in order to bring a carbon, you need the Kohanim to do that Vaidah. Otherwise, carbon's not a carbon. You need the Kohanim to do the Vaidah. So that we need Mashiach for. And therefore, until Mashiach comes, we can't do a carbon. There's a school they have. There's incredible. I want to go there. I never went there. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. They ever pushed them to do it. They very much pushed them. Beautiful thing. They're doing a lot. If we're gonna be able to use them or not, I don't know. Yeah. But in practice anyway, it's good. It's good to. So it has to be that long.
What's it called?
Okay, so what is the job again of Mashiach? What's the job again? I mean, what's the point? The point is to be able to do mitzvahs. That's the bottom line. Now, what about what the Rambam says about bringing about not being in war, not bringing wars? Not that.
He's going to be warring people.
That's what happens is when there's war, we can't do mitzvahs either. It holds us back. But that's not the point. Isn't that there shouldn't be war? The point though, there shouldn't be war is that we have to do mitzvahs.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what the Rambam is saying. The job of David HaMelech. David brought this idea of no war. That's where you have the comment. That's what the Rambam is telling. He's saying that the halacha again. It's the halacha the Rambam is telling us over here. And the halacha is what's the halacha here? Why David? It's not a story. What is it? That he's going to take away war.
I'm going to go and I'm going to reach each one of them. He was just in that.
So again, everything now again, build a base of Mikdash again, it's be able to do mitzvahs. Going into Eretz Yisrael, be able to do mitzvahs, and that's the point over here. And then the Rambam is going to go on. He's going to say, let's see which page is it over here. The Rambam is going to speak about. Let me have it in here. Okay, let me make the right jump. Okay. The Rambam is going to speak about. He brings another proof of Mashiach. And he's bringing here proofs from the Torah, not from Navi. Navi you have all over the Nevi'im. All the prophets speak about Mashiach. He's bringing specifically verses from the Torah. Why from the Torah, not from the Nevi'im? Because, okay, fine, but why is he bringing that? Because, again, he's telling us halakha. Huh? It's here, okay, I don't have it. Whatever, it's fine. I'll stay with it. So, let me get you that. No, it's not causing one. Okay. So the Rambam continues, and he says that another proof he brings is that when Moshiach comes, there's going to be Oid, Shloisha, going to be another 3 cities of refuge.
Right.
In other words, it says like this: when what the law is, someone inadvertently kills somebody. By mistake, he kills someone. So the Torah tells us that there's somewhere he could run and he'll be protected there. So before the Yidden entered Eretz Yisrael, so the Torah tells us there was 6, right? And there could be another 3. before we crossed over into Israel on the other side of the Jordan. So Moshe Rabbeinu established 3 of those cities of refuge. And then when Yidden conquered the land, they established another 3. That's 6.
So one is and one is
3 of Eber Yarden. And then the other 3 when they inside Eretz Yisrael. So the Rambam's saying, 1 second, what happened to the other 3? The Torah tells us it's going to be Oishleish. There's going to be another 3, right?
Some says it's going to be 10, no?
I don't know.
Is there to be more of us, or is there more accident?
That's another question we're going to get to. What do you need? What do you need? A city of refuge when Mashiach comes. Okay, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. But before we get to that, the Torah says it's going to be another 3. Says the Rambam. They never happened. How could Torah tell something that never happened? It's going to happen. Huh? That's what Rambam's telling us. It's going to happen. And there you have a proof in the Torah that Hashem is going to, he's going to extend the boundaries of Eretz Yisrael, and at that time, it's going to be Moshiach comes, and at that time, we're going to have another 3 cities of refuge. That's another proof the Rambam brings that Moshiach's coming. We're going to have Moshiach.
But it says, you know why the healing, we don't need it.
Really
A
well?
lot of people is missing the needs of never sacrifice, you're going to mashli all the mitzvot, and then it's going to be all over.
Yeah. So now, we're still bothered with why is the proof? I mean, why? In order to tell us, the Rambam's telling us now that we have to. What's the mitzvah? Because the Rambam's telling us that we have to have emunah. The Mashiach is coming. Number 1, emunah. The second one, to wait for him. We have to trust. We have to believe he's coming. And second thing is to wait. Mechaker, to wait for him. In order to tell us that, why we need to mix in David HaMelech? Why are we mixing in David? Why are you mixing in King David right here? So there's no reasons for it. One reason is because in order to give us our emunah, in order to help us with our emunah, help us with our belief in us that this is going to happen. So when you see that something already happened before, and you say something similar is going to happen, it's much more believable. It helps with our belief. Like we see regarding Tchiyat HaMeitim, resurrection, like you mentioned before about what about people that passed away already? So Rambam says, talk about all those that live again, right? So it's brought down, the Rambam says, that just like a baby that is born, just like Hashem is able to take someone that never lived and make them live. The Gemara says this. The Gemara said, just like he'll take a person that never lived and make them live. So same thing, Hashem was able to take someone that lived and make them live again. Right? So it makes it easier to believe, right? Gemara is telling us it's easier to understand something. Okay, so but here again, what's the proof the Gemara brings for that there's going to be Tchiyat HaMeitim, there's going to be resurrection? Because if Hashem can make life from no life, then surely from already something that is alive, Hashem can make them live again. Right? So it makes it more understandable. The same thing when it comes to ending wars and becoming a time of peace. When did that happen? In the times of David HaMelech. Just like that happened, now I'm helping you in your emunah. I'm telling you, I'm helping you in your emunah. I'm helping you be able to believe, since the mitzvah is to believe. The Mashiach is coming. Right? Mashiach. So what's going to happen then? We're going to have no more wars. David, right? David. We're going to have Beis HaMikdash. David started that. And we're going to be able to do the mitzvahs the way they were, and that's the bottom line. The bottom line is the mitzvahs, just like we were able to it then for maybe a short period of time, but we had it back then. The same thing we'll be able to have very soon. Now,
He's giving us the idea. What's going to happen?
I just want two or three more quick points because we're not going to get to the side. Now, huh? The Rambam tells us that Moshiach does not have to make any signs or miracles. He doesn't have to make any signs or miracles. And he brings us a proof from who? Do you remember? You remember? The proof the Rambam brings is, he says, that we find, so the Rambam, his Mashiach doesn't have to do any miracles. Vayala Daitcha, he says, don't think. Shamach Mashiach tzarich lasis to do any miracles. Mechadish dvarim b'alim, he doesn't have to make any new things in the world. Mechayim amazing or make resurrection. He doesn't have to do that. Grace by Meron. It's not the way it works. Rabbi Akiva, we have Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva believed. He said that Bar Kokhba was Mashiach.
They told him the chick to use things.
That was later. And then he was known as Bar Kuziba. Why? But fine. Later. But the Rambam doesn't worry about that. Okay, I'll give you know what? That was later. Okay, let me give a little background. The story was like this. The Yidden were in Galus. They were in exile. They were suffering from the Romans tremendously. And suffering from the Romans, they were finally all of a sudden Bar Kokhba gets up and he says, you know what? He gathers a group of Yidden. He says, we're going to fight back. Jewish blood is not cheap. He says, who wants to come with me? I believe he was a descendant of David also, right? He was a descendant of David. He fit the criteria because he was a descendant of David. And the Rambam says over here, okay, so back to the story. So he fought and he was tremendously successful. He fought back. They got back Yerushalayim. They got back for 2.5 years, actually. A long time they got back Yerushalayim. And Rabbi Akiva, at the end, first he was a good guy. He was completely good. At the end, he did some things. He did some averas at the end. He had an uncle who was big tzaddik, and he kicked his. He was thought that his uncle is not backing him. He kicked his uncle. His uncle passed away from that. They realized, okay, this guy is. Someone forget about a tzaddik. Someone's a Talmud. Whenever you forget about Moshiach, whenever you don't kick someone, right? If they kick a tzaddik, kick him so bad, the guy dies. So, and they started at the end. They saw he wasn't coming up with. They said he's not Mashiach. But before that, he said he is Mashiach. Did he ask him any questions before? Did he ask him to do any miracles before that? Says the Rambam no. The Rambam says no, and therefore it's a proof. He says
Right? He was a special person. He used to do stuff that,
Says the Rambam, before any of that, but like Shalom Chachamim, like ice, like my face, didn't ask for too many signs or any miracles. Says, you know why? Says the main thing is I get you to the mitzvahs. Miracles, that's not our job. Yeah, of course, Mashiach comes, there'll be miracles. Moshe did miracles. But that's not the point. That doesn't make or break Mashiach. In fact, the Rambam holds that it's going to be in stages. And the miracle part is going to come, the Tchias HaMesim part from the resurrection, that's going to come later on. It's not going to come right away at the beginning. And therefore, the Rambam says we have a proof from here that no need for miracle. That's not the point. The point is that we're doing the same thing he said regarding a Navi. He's a Navi, a prophet. Doesn't have to do miracles. What does he have to do? He has to be a Nevuah. They say what's going to happen, and it happens. It happens. We know he's a Navi. And the same thing with Mashiach. So, what does he say? Mashiach, what does he mean, Mashiach? He means he's Cheskas Mashiach, the Rambam says. It means he has a Chazaka. He has the ability to be Mashiach. Okay, what that means further. Azat Hashem.
We want Mashiach now.
Well, Moshiach now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ali.